Welcome to the Crystal Fideli podcast. I am your host, Crystal Fideli. I am a social researcher and policy analyst, speaker, consultant, and an award-winning nonprofit founder and executive director. And all of my work focuses on helping us to understand coercive control, helping organizations to understand coercive control so they can respond better, and helping individuals understand coercive control so they can navigate the systems that they need to navigate better. And here on the Crystal Fideli podcast at large, we examine when institutional norms and practices diverge from what the research calls an evidence-based approach, being based on science, research, the law, etc., and instead reverts into using what the research calls a practice-based approach based on tradition and opinion, and how it causes an immense amount of harm to very vulnerable and marginalized people. And that leads me into introducing you to a special series we are doing here on the Crystal Fideli podcast called When Coercive Control Turns Financial, the Family Court Response and the Cascading Consequences. We see in the research and in practice time and time again when a woman attempts to set boundaries on the coercive control that she is experiencing, how the coercive control does not stop, because that's not how it works. Coercive control does not stop when a woman sets boundaries. It just switches forms and it intensifies until a person in power or an institution steps in and stops it. So she attempts to set boundaries, and most often it switches to financial. And we examine the family court's response and how that leads to so many cascading consequences. So welcome to the series.
All right, so let's get right into it. So, to protect the identity of our guest, she has taken herself off camera and we have changed her name to guest. And so let's get right into it. So, for this first section, I want to focus on what your experience was like inside the relationship. So, a lot of people think that domestic abuse is made up of isolated physical incidents, something that happens and then just stops. But what we see both in the research and my colleagues and I, we see in practice every day is that it's often not just individual incidents. It's a pattern over time where one person, the perpetrator, is trying to maintain power and control over their target and not just physically. So I want to start by understanding what that looked like for you and your experience inside of the relationship. So could you just kind of explain a little bit about your relationship and how it was? Did you experience abuse, and how? Was it psychologically, which I would say encompasses emotionally and mentally? Was it physical abuse? Was it sexual abuse? I mean, was it abuse in any other form? Do you feel comfortable talking about that?
Yes, ma'am. So I would say that there was a lot of emotional and psychological abuse. There were incidents of physical abuse, and then I wouldn't necessarily call it sexual abuse. However, there could be a strong case made for it. Um, so early on in the relationship, when I first met him, I go by my middle name, and he said, "Well, I don't like that name. I want to call you by your first name." And he said that he had known a girl in high school by the same name and ended up wanting to call me by my first name because he didn't like my middle name. And so whenever he would get upset with me, he would call me by my middle name, like I was not being his good little wife, you know? And then when he was happy with me, or when I was doing what he wanted me to, then he would call me by my first name, which he had kind of given to me in a way.
Interesting.
Um, from there, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said that's interesting. That's an
Oh,
interesting anecdote. Go ahead.
and then from there, he, um, when we first had sex, I had asked him to wear a condom. He agreed and started that way. And then he stopped and said that he wouldn't continue if he had to continue wearing it, that he couldn't feel anything, that he wasn't enjoying it, And so I wanted him to like me and I wanted him to continue basically. And so I agreed to allow him to. Um, it got, after that, it started going to him kind of just flat out lying about me, lying to his family about things that I had done. He originally would not date me or agree to date me because I already had two previous children. And so when I started talking to him or whatever, he was like, well, you already have two kids and I don't want to commit to that. So we're just going to have sex, like we're just going to hang out. We did that for a month and a half. And I had a conversation with him and I was like, I'm spending every day over here. I'm spending all this time with you. Are you dating anyone else? Are you seeing anyone else? Are you sleeping with anyone else? And he was like, no, but if I decide to, I'll let you know. And then in the next couple of days, we had a date planned where I was going to perform a poetry that I do. And he canceled at the last second. And he told me that he was sick. And so I was worried about him. He ended up being with another girl. On that occasion, he kept like pushing me and lying to me and stuff. And I did slap him. And he ended up getting me in my car and I left. About an hour later, he called me and he was like, I just wanted to see you. I just wanted to talk to you. I just miss you so much. I made her go home. I want to be with you. And then from there, he basically told me, well, you have two kids. She has no kids. I really want to date both of you. And I felt at that point like I wasn't enough. And so I allowed him to date her too. And then he started telling me things like directly, I don't really like you. I'm not really interested in you. But he would still have me come over. He would still have me be there, and all that kind of stuff. So when he officially broke up with her and started dating me, he was drunk and he told me that she had decided that she wanted to go back to her ex-boyfriend. And so I had won him, basically. And then later on, when I asked him about it, he was like, I never said that. You're making that up. That didn't happen. I chose you. You're the one that I chose and all this. But during that time, he would there was one occasion at least that he took me from a date that we were currently on, and he took me back home and was like, well, she's free now, so I'm going to go out with her. And I came from a background that I was not enough. And so I accepted that treatment, not knowing that it was really wrong.
Right.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and so eventually you all got married. So
We did. He decided that we were not going to get married. Well, he didn't actually want to marry me. I got pregnant and his sister basically guilted him into marrying me. And she was like, well, are you going to marry her now? And so he did. He didn't want to have a wedding. I wanted to have a backyard wedding. And he said no to that. And we went to the courthouse. And by the afternoon, he was back at work. And then eventually, he ended up taking my car. He ended up taking my home, the finances. He worked and I stayed home with the kids. I would pay everything. So he gets paid monthly. And I would get, we would get the check in from the bank or whatever. And I would pay everything. I'd pay all the bills. He didn't touch any of it. And then I would, buy groceries, set aside a budget, all of that stuff. If I wanted to buy anything or needed to buy anything big, like clothes or shoes or anything like that, I would directly ask him, can I purchase this? Can I get this? Whatever. And he would then either say yes or no. But he also had an alcohol problem. And to be completely candid, at the time, we both smoked weed. So in the course of the month, he would end up spending money every day on alcohol. And we would kind of buy our weed at the beginning of the month. And so by the end of the month, he would be buying alcohol every day and then be buying lunch, even though I would make him lunch every day. And towards the end of the month, we would run out of money. And so he would come home and he would yell at me and he would be like, well, it's my paycheck and I can't even spend it. I don't even know what happens to it. What the fuck do you do with it? And so I would sit and ask him, put me on a budget, then sit down and talk with me and make plans as to what it's going to look like. Like, have a conversation with me,
Hey, were you in my marriage?
Yeah.
I thought this was the conversation at my house. No, keep going.
Yeah. And I would sit there and go, please do this with me. And he would just go, well, it's all my money. None of it's yours. It doesn't belong to you. I make the check. You don't do anything.
Wow.
And so, yeah, that was how it was during our marriage.
Well, I just want to correct him for the record that actually caretaking has been found to be equal economic contribution. That's what the law says. And so this is for informational purposes. It's not legal advice, but so legally he's incorrect. So I just wanted to correct the record really quick. Okay, so I'm noticing a lot of devaluing of you by him. I'm noticing that it's interesting because you're good enough to, in his mind, have sexual relations with, but you're not good enough to commit to. And I'm just finding that very interesting. And I'm finding it very interesting that he didn't want to commit to you because you had two children, but yet he impregnated you with another one.
Oh yeah, we ended up having two children, but
two more.
But before when we were first together, he did a lot of well, I don't really love you. I'm only here for the kids. I've grown a bond with them, so I'm only here for them. I don't love you. I didn't know.
With your kids from the previous relationship.
Right. And he doesn't even have a relationship with them anymore because at the end of our marriage, he split me up from everybody.
Wow. Again, I mean, gosh, flashbacks, man. He's there for the kids, has developed a relationship with kids, but you're chopped liver. I remember that personally. Okay. Anyways. So yeah, I'm noticing that you were not good enough to commit to, but you were good enough to have sexual relations with in his mind. But then he eventually impregnates you with two more children, which were absolute blessings from the Lord, in my opinion, in my worldview. But then, okay, well, I guess I got to marry her now, it's just this complete devaluing of you, right? And so that is straight up psychological, mental, and emotional abuse. And I just want to tell you that I'm really sorry that you experienced that because you deserved a lot better than that. And I want you to know that that's not true. And I don't believe that's how God sees you. And that's not how I see you. And that's not how, the lucky man who gets to be blessed with you one day is going to see you. So I just want to set the record straight there. And I also want to point out that, wow, he just really wanted to play you against this other woman. And it was like this competition that is very, well, it's abusive. It's weird, but it's abusive. Um,
It was like
and
that the entire time that we were together, and it happened with multiple women. So actually, the woman that he's with now was a friend of his in high school. And so he would compare her to me, or compare me to her, I guess, when we were together.
was this the woman
Um,
that he knew that had the same middle name? That was the same
Actually, it
name?
is. Yeah, it
Oh my
is.
gosh.
Um, yeah, it is actually. And he would tell me, because she was valedictorian, and so he would tell me, you know, she's so smart, and I don't know why you don't use your brain more. Like, it's not just there for looks. He would tell me things like, we had a friend, a mutual friend, and she's awesome. But he would compare me to her in like coolness levels, like he would be like, she's so cool. Why can't you like be more like her? Um, and he did that with pretty much any woman that we came in contact with.
Now, wait. So her name was the same as your middle name?
No,
And
her name is the same as my first name.
okay.
His claim when he told me that was that he had known someone by my middle name and he didn't get along with her. But come to find out later, one of the women that he compared me to so much actually has the same first name that I do. And that's
Wow,
the name
that
that he would call me.
I don't know which story to believe from him. If
Yeah.
it's, I mean, is it that so you liked your middle name and he didn't want to call you by the middle name originally because of somebody else he knew and he didn't like them. But then you found out that this person he apparently really liked and revered because she was the valedictorian and all the things. And so he wanted to call you by the first name because he really liked her. I mean, wow, I don't know which story to even believe from this guy. I mean, man, oh, sometimes I hear these stories and it's like, oh yeah, my mind is just like spinning. And I'm just like, that's how I know this is abusive. But I notice the spinning, I notice the uncertainty and I don't know what to even think. And that's how I know it's abusive. But I'm just saying, if I logically think about it, it's like, wow, like which one is it? You can't even rationalize these perpetrators of abuse. It's just absolutely insane. Um, wow. Okay. And so he eventually married you, and you guys had two children. Um, and I'm also noticing like the love bombing too, like in competition with another woman. And then, he love bombs you after that. Just this intense, really great, connection and feelings that he's trying to give you. Um, and then also this whole, thing about devaluing your caretaking of the children and it's his money and it's just ridiculous because it's marital income. But I mean, that's a part of the psychological and financial abuse tactics. But I'm noticing how he blamed you for the finances when he was also to blame for whatever else was going on. And I'm noticing how you were asking actively for a solution. He was refusing to participate in moving towards a solution, but still blamed you and, was like, oh, this is my money anyway. Like, and it's just, I'm just noticing that. And, yeah, it's completely, abusive. And well, I mean, because the end goal for him is power and control. The end goal is not to get to a solution. You were proposing a solution because you wanted to get to a solution. But of course, he couldn't participate in that proposed solution because then that would actually get you to a solution. And his goal is to have confusion so he can maintain power and control. Um,
And he
so,
did that. He did that constantly throughout our relationship. Like, I would try and talk to him about something or ask him for help with something, and he would most of the time just act like I wasn't there. You know, like there were days on end actually, where he would just literally not respond to me at all. Like I would ask him something and he would just
He
walk on by.
stonewalled you?
Yeah.
That's a common one. I literally just did an interview before that and they talked about the stonewalling, and I think someone earlier too. Man, that is insane. Okay, so was there any physical abuse with objects or you, or no?
So there was physical abuse. He at the beginning, he hit a wall. And then there was one occasion where we were arguing. He went on the back porch and picked up this table that was on the back porch. It was an orange table. It's like a work table.
Yeah.
And he picked it up and threw it off the porch.
Yeah.
And it just stayed out there. And then there was one specific occasion where he choked me over his whiskey.
Yep. It's
And
so
my
interesting.
daughter,
These guys are always like choking. It's like they always choke. Why do they always choke? That's what I always hear, the story. It's, yeah, he choked me. But why? Yeah. Sorry. It's just an interesting of all the things that they can do physically. It's like they choose to put their hands around your neck. But anyways, keep going.
but there were occasions where he would push me so far that I would snap and slap him. And so there were occasions where it wasn't just him, where I was doing stuff too. So there's one specific occasion where we had already been separated, but I didn't have anywhere to go. And I had asked him to either help me with money, let me get a job, or let me ask family to go and stay with them. And he had refused. And
Wait,
at this,
hold on. I'm sorry. Did you say ask him to get a job and ask, why couldn't you ask your family?
my family at that point had nowhere for me to go. He had family that had a separated outhouse that had like a bedroom, a kitchen, all of everything. And so I had suggested to him for him to either stay there or for me to stay there
Oh,
for a
okay.
little while with the kids, or for him to at least move to the back room of the house, which at that point he said was unlivable. And then later he moved my son into that room.
Because that's
But
not what the truth was. It's not that it was unlivable. It's that he didn't want to let you have freedom from him. That's what it was.
yeah. But we were
Why
at
weren't you
home.
allowed to get a job though? I mean, what would have happened if you went out and applied? I mean, is it
Well, he had taken my car at that point. My car, I had bought the car outright, or I had bought the car finally. I had bought him a truck outright previously. And so he drove the truck and I drove the car. And at some point it had like an engine problem or something. And he took it to these guys that he knew, that had a shop and they had always gone there. Well, later, years later, when I was looking for someone to work on a car that I had later on, um, the car, I tried to go to them and they were like, well, we could look at it, but we don't work on this issue. Like we work with transmissions or something, and we don't work on engines like that. Then I said, okay, and I went to someone else. But at the time, he didn't tell me that. He left the car sitting out in their parking lot for the entire summer. And then when he brought it back to the house, it wouldn't run, it wouldn't start. And so he told me
so
that
he took complete control over the finances. The car needed a repair and he wouldn't repair the car. And what did he tell you?
it was worthless. Like it wouldn't start. We couldn't get it fixed. I just needed to get rid of it. And so we got rid of my car, and then I didn't have a car or any way to get anywhere. He wouldn't let me go to the gym. He wouldn't let me go anywhere.
What would happen if you tried to leave and go to the gym?
He wouldn't watch the kids. He would literally, like when I had my my children, he would not watch them just for me to take a shower.
Wow. Um, and then so he wouldn't let you get a job. I mean, what would have happened if you did get a job?
I wouldn't have had any daycare.
Yeah. He wouldn't have paid for you to, or he wouldn't have paid for the kids. Wow. Okay. Oh, man. And then, and then, and then women like you go into court and they ask for support, and then the court blames women for not working. It's like, ugh, if you haven't had a proper fact finding process, like we need to not rely on heuristics courts. I mean, it's just, ugh, okay, sorry. All right, because that's what happens is that, especially in the temporary phase, especially with a pro se mother, they won't allow her equitable access back to her marital income. And of course, he'll lawyer up, you know. And then she's asking for support, and then they're like, "Well, why aren't you working?" You know, and it's just like heuristics. Well, this court expects both parties to work. Yes, of course. And in order to work, there has to be infrastructure. And it's just, I mean, this is what my work, highlights is just, and it's like you have no idea what's going on. And that's why heuristics are so dangerous for individuals who are trying to flee domestic abuse, but it happens every single day. And then they deflect and then they justify. And I've been in conversations, with actual attorneys themselves too. And this happens all the time. I'm not saying it's every judge, I'm not saying it's every attorney, but it is a pattern I've noticed, and it's really harming survivors. So, okay, so there was definitely a lot of psychological abuse. There was physical abuse, financial abuse. Now, let me ask you this. You said that the relationship ended. How did that end? Was it sort of like a gradual thing where you kept putting up boundaries, or was it just an abrupt, like, I'm done with the relationship?
Uh, Both. It was explosive. Um, and it took a really long time. I had left 5 or 6 times. I had gone back to my mom's house. I had gone to my grandmother's. I had gone to my sister's at one point. Um, and every time that I had left, he would promise and promise and promise, or, you know, like I said earlier, I came from a house that had kind of taught me some things that weren't great either. And so I would be there and it would not be ideal, and a lot of the time he could make it seem like it was better with him. Like even if he treated me badly, sometimes he didn't do it all the time. And so it was this situation where I was like, well, we have these 4 kids and he helps me take them to school and he helps me sometimes, and then on the big things or just on a Tuesday, he would randomly decide not to be there. Um, so I had left several times and he had gotten me back in the situation. And then finally things had just gotten to where it was really, really, really bad. Um, I was concerned about my oldest daughter with him. I was concerned about um, his drinking. I was concerned about my mental health with him. I was just done. I realized on a vacation that we took that he was abusive. And then I had tried to stay with him for years afterwards. Um, I had my second daughter with him. So I had 4 children at this point. My mom had passed away during my pregnancy with her, and he had pretty much completely abandoned me. Um,
When you say he abandoned you, what do you mean?
so I was actually during my pregnancy with my daughter, I had a miscarriage. So we didn't realize, but she was a twin. And so I had
Oh,
a miscarriage. We thought that we had lost her, but she survived. But she had a placental abruption because of it. And so I was on bed rest And my mom got sick and I had to go into the hospital with her. And he just kind of left me there. Um, I asked him to see if someone could take the kids, and watch them. And he had, his sister and his mom and his dad and just everybody in his family that could have or would have been willing to. But he didn't. And so he just kind of left me there to deal with it by myself, when I had asked him several times to be there. And later on, he had a friend that went through a similar situation. And I can't tell you how fast he had somebody to watch the kids.
Wait, so you were losing I mean, half of your pregnancy, like one of your babies, right? And he just left you with the kids to deal with that with the kids all alone?
He actually took care of the kids, but
Oh,
he wouldn't do anything else. So he wouldn't find them somewhere to go. He wouldn't come to the hospital with me, nothing. But he would during that pregnancy, he did do like the pregnancy was not a good pregnancy. He wouldn't help during it. He wasn't loving during it. He actually left one night and told me that if I went into early labor to call a cab, because he was taking the car to go drinking.
complete
And
devaluing. So how did the relationship like end though? Did you eventually start to put up sort of boundaries, you know,
so
like
actually,
over time, or did you just abruptly end it?
eventually I left to my grandmother's house and I had all four kids with me.
Yeah.
I got a job at Walmart and I was taking care of the kids during the day and going to work at Walmart at night.
Wow.
I went to a concert that I had planned to go to. I had this really beautiful artist that I found, and his music just gave me the will to go on during the last few months, of the relationship. Like I would just listen to his music at night on repeat, and it just gave me the will to live.
Hmm.
So I went to that concert and I ended up sleeping with someone else. And I went directly to his home afterwards and I was like, I'm not okay. This is not okay. Like, I don't know what's up, down. I'm so confused. I need to go into the hospital because I don't know what's going on. And he took me to the hospital and dropped me off. And I mean, he just dropped me off. Like he just left me. Um, to the point where the nurse turned around to ask him a question and she was like, "Where did he go?" Um, and then they kept me in the mental hospital for 30 days. I was kind of nonverbal at that point. I would answer direct questions, but I wouldn't talk about anything else. Um, and so they put me on tons of medications.
Where were the kids?
Uh, the two, well, the kids were split up between him and my family.
Okay.
Um, I think they also went with their, like the two older ones went with their dad, during that time a little bit, but not a whole bunch because he wasn't super involved at that point. Um, and then he was able to have the divorce papers delivered to the hospital. I did
Okay.
not receive
So
them.
the relationship ended by you leaving to your grandmother's house, and that's how the relationship ended.
Yes. However, after I got out of the hospital, I didn't have anywhere to go. So I ended up back with him for 6 more months.
Why didn't you go to your grandmother's?
My grandmother at that point had sold her house.
Okay.
She was getting older in age and my mom had just passed away. So my mom was taking care of the house. My mom paid for everything. And so when she passed away, my grandmother started moving towards selling the house.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. So so the relationship ended by you basically just leaving and saying you couldn't do this anymore, and then you went to the You went to your grandmother's house, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And then you went to, then you just kind of psychologically broke, and then you were in the hospital for 30 days, and that's when he served you the divorce papers.
Yes. And I
Okay.
never received the divorce papers at the hospital. So they accepted the divorce papers, but I never got them. So at
Interesting.
the end of the 30 days when I got out, I was on 9 different medications because the hospital didn't listen to what was going on with him. They just were treating my symptoms. And so they were saying that I was like depressed, anxiety, all of that stuff, but they didn't listen to what was going on in the relationship or in the home or any of that stuff. So I was on 9 different medications. I got out of the hospital and they had me in the day program where I had to go every day or they were going to kick me out. And I told him this and he said, "Okay, well, I'm divorcing you and the hearing is in like 2 or 3 days." And I was like, "What the fuck?" And he said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it. You don't, I'm going to take care of everything. You don't have to worry about anything."
Oh, of course. Okay. So, all right. So did you, oh, so, all right. So you went into the family, so you enter the family court system, and, so I want to shift into what happened when you entered the family court. So a lot of people assume that when someone leaves a relationship like this, the system steps in to create stability. But what we often see is that if control has already shifted, especially financially, which it was the entire marriage, it seems that imbalance can carry directly into the legal process. So help me understand what this looked like in your experience. So, did you have like, I mean, he had access to the marital income. And I know you had like a job at Walmart, but you also had the kids full time. So he had access to the marital income and he didn't really have to take responsibility for the kids. I mean, that was your primary responsibility, but if that's why you're supposed to have equitable or equal, whatever state you're from, access to the marital income. But it seems like you had next to nothing or nothing. And I know you had like a small job at Walmart, a part-time job or whatever, I guess full-time. Like
I
it
was
wasn't
only
a
there
stable
for a
job
week.
at Walmart.
Right.
So did you have like equitable or equal access to the marital because here I mean it's marital
No,
income. So like here's the pot of marital income and whoever works puts money into the pot of marital income and then there's the caretaking and so it's kind of like however you divvy up the marital division of labor between caretaking and income earning. But so going into these divorce proceedings, did you have any sort of access to the marital income, whether equitable or equal?
I had nothing.
You had nothing. And so
So
were you
I had
able
only,
to afford your basic necessities for you and your children going into the family court system?
no,
And did he have a very elevated sort of lifestyle? I mean, depending on how much money, the marital income was, but did he have like, well, he obviously had a better lifestyle than you, economically, but like, was he able to like have it pretty good?
yeah, he had a home and a car and food and clothes. And when I eventually left for good, he had everything. And I left with a trunk of stuff.
Right.
Like I left with a trunk of clothes and that was it.
And so he
And
had, go ahead.
I ended up when I left him for good, I went to my uncle's home and I ended up having to literally sell my wedding ring and get a ticket to New York because I had asked him for about 2 weeks to get daycare for the kids because I needed to get a job. And I knew that what he was trying to do was keep me to where I was keeping the kids every day so that eventually I would just go back home with him.
Yeah.
And so I ended up breaking again and I sold my wedding ring, got a ticket to New York, went to New York so I would force him to get daycare. And then he actually paid for me to come back. Um, and I was still keeping the kids after that. And I got a job. I was able to get a job because he had been forced to get daycare.
I mean, this is insane. I mean, this is okay. So, in the family court proceedings, so you got a divorce from him?
Yeah, he paid for the divorce. His mom paid for the divorce. And then he tried to get me to pay for half of it.
Yeah, but did you have an attorney?
Not at all. I didn't have anything. I
Did
wasn't
he
even
have an
present.
attorney?
Yes, I wasn't even present for the actual proceedings because I was in the hospital in the day program still. And he
What
had
state are
told
you
me
from?
Texas.
That's not the first time I've heard of that happening in Texas.
So he took the house, he took the car, he took all of the finances, and he took the rights to my children. And basically made it look like I was crazy.
This is not the first time I've heard of that happening in Texas. Literal same exact same story. Wow. Literal exact same story. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I'm, I'm so sorry.
Uh, for the past 8 years, I've been pretty much completely mentally broken. I've tried in different ways to go on with my life. I've tried in different ways to make money. I've tried in different ways to have other relationships. I've tried in different ways to get over the fact that I don't have my kids every day and that this woman that he used to compare me to is now largely known as their mom. Um, but my entire world was kind of destroyed. And still to this day, I can't get help from lawyers because they won't listen that he's emotionally abusive, even though I have evidence and proof. They say that because there's no physical bruises, they won't help me. Uh, I've been put on probation because when I was teaching, he got the lawyers to I finally eventually got a lawyer because he later took them from me for 56 days. He wouldn't let me see the kids at all. It was during COVID. He wouldn't let me see them at all. He wouldn't let me talk to them. I got a few phone calls and that was it. And those phone calls he was present for the entire time. Even a phone call on my birthday, my son was literally on his bed crying because he didn't understand why he couldn't be with me. Um, and so I eventually got a lawyer at that point, but she told me originally that she would help me. And then the day of court, she told me, well, it would be too expensive to fight him. So I'm not going to help you in that respect. And she ended up um, just getting me basic visitation. And then from there, they put me on child support that was like $950, which while I was teaching, I told him that that was a lot for me. I have an older child that was with me at that point, and I said, I can't really do that. And he didn't listen to me. And so I ended up being put on child support for about $950 a month. And then I was so stressed out teaching that I decided that teaching was not for me and
Yeah.
I left it. Um, and the attorney general, although I sent them the paperwork saying that I had left that job, they didn't adjust anything on it. And so then I ended up being put on probation for back child support. Uh, and so now my child support is still up at $900 because of arrears. And I have to go check in every month. And, I have to watch this guy who there were so many occasions where he would just bail on us, and I would take care of everything. And he just kind of lives life. And I don't really get to see my kids as much as I would like. And it has damaged my relationship with my older two kids in a lot of ways because I had to leave them when I left him. Uh, I don't trust anybody at all. So having any kind of relationship is almost out of the question. Um, some months it's hard to just buy them clothes. And he literally goes on vacations to like beach houses. Um,
I guess he got everything in the divorce, huh?
yeah, he did. Uh,
Texas. What are you doing? Come on. I am so sorry.
and I go in to report, every month, and it kind of feels like I'm a criminal. Like they're very you know, they're very kind of short with me. It's not like they're unkind, but it's just, it just
Re-
feels like I'm
report for what? To see your kids or?
no for probation for child support. Every month I get a letter in the mail saying that if I don't pay the required child support, that any day they can stop and basically arrest me.
Wow. Okay.
Because
So basically, you tried to flee domestic abuse. Um, you were financially controlled, and so you couldn't even get legal counsel because the system didn't stop you from being financially controlled. They just let it happen. He got a divorce by default, and then the cascading consequences is that for the rest of your life, you didn't even get what you were owed out of the marriage. I mean, you were entitled to equitable or equal. I don't know what Texas is, if it's
well,
equitable or equal. And then you don't get you lost your kids, you lost any assets, and then you're left in a complete emotional, psychological, mental ruin. And then you could be arrested because you can't pay all this child support. Uh, wow.
yeah. And I told him when I left him, I told him I don't really give a fuck about the money. I don't really give a fuck about the house or the car. I just want the kids.
And
And
he only gives a crap about having power and control over you. And so that's why he's like, fine, I'm going to take the kids and the house and the money and everything because that's the
and he's
operating system he's operating from. But the system allowed this to happen. And this is exactly why I do the work that I do. But is there anything else you wanted to say as we wind up here?
I for me it's been kind of a horror story.
It is a horror story.
It's I got blamed for everything. He says like at counseling and stuff for our kids because I've been really worried about my kids. His girlfriend moved out of the house. And so my kids lost a mother figure twice. And he doesn't let them feel or show emotion. I believe he coaches them. And so, like at counseling and stuff, he'll say, well, I'm really triggered by you, and then my kids won't talk about the stuff that he does. They'll change
Yeah.
stories around. Um,
Your kids are continuing to be harmed, is basically what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah, I know.
every day. And
Yeah.
I take better notes now and I'm able to take, documentation down. But going into this next court proceeding where I'm trying to get more custody, it almost feels impossible because I'm on my own.
You're pro
And
se?
yeah.
Yeah, he is a lawyer.
I don't know who his lawyer is currently. His previous lawyer was now or is now looking to be a Tarrant County family judge.
Okay, but he has counsel and you don't?
Correct.
Yeah, the cascading consequences, what I talk about. Well, you're a classic story of exactly why I do what I do and why my goal is to take over the entire country with You Made a Way. And that's my goal. And I am very ever aware that I have to have a real conversation with the Lord because the Lord needs to provide the ability to do this. Or I want to stop seeing this happening. It's either or. So I'm gonna have to go have a real conversation with God. Okay, but that has nothing to do with you. I do have to go and pick up my other little one, and I'm actually going to be late. Hopefully, her Girl Scout leader isn't too mad at me. Let's be honest, she probably is going to be mad at me. Sorry, Adriana. Okay, but I am really sorry for your experience, and thank you for being very brave to share your experience on this podcast. And I just, I just, call upon the only thing that I can at this point for you, and that is Jehovah Mishpat, the God of justice. And God, I am asking you to have justice here, and I am asking you to supernaturally reach into this woman's situation and do a miracle, Father, and justice. I prophesy justice for her and restoration. And the good thing about restoration is that it doesn't restore what you lost, it restores you back to the place to even greater than if you had never lost what you lost in the first place. But I'm asking for this to not just be nice, pretty words that I'm wrapping up this episode in. I am asking for you to step in Jesus. Please don't let these be just words, God. I am asking you to step in Jesus' name. Have justice for this woman and these children. Restore this woman, restore these children. In Jesus' name. And that's all I can say for you. And I am out there door knocking every single week, following up with emails, asking local businesses to sponsor. I put in a lot of work of my own time, so I can get You Made a Way expanded into every state. But
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for joining us for another episode inside of our series called When Coercive Control Turns Financial, the Family Court Response, and the Cascading Consequences. If you are an organization or an event and you are looking for organizational consulting, speaking, or training so you can understand coercive control better, so you can respond better, I want to invite you to go ahead and visit me at crystalfideli.com. If you are an individual leaving coercive control and you would like support navigating, I want to invite you to go ahead and also visit me at crystalfideli.com. And if you are interested in specifically supporting You Made a Way, it is the 501c3 nonprofit that I founded and I am the executive director of. If you are just as passionate as we are of making a way for women and children who are leaving coercive control when it turns financial, I want to invite you to go ahead and visit us at youmadeaway.org. And we hope to see you back here next time for another episode of When Coercive Control Turns Financial, the Family Court Response, and the Cascading Consequences. See you then.